So thank you all for coming. I hope this achieves some of our objectives. For those of you who had never heard about IIIF before and maybe could spell it, did you learn things today? Was it helpful? So yay, for all the presenters. So how many have been bitten by the interoperability bug? If you came here today, Mark, you already bit. You've been bit for a while. If you came here today and you weren't quite sure what this was or if you were interested, has your mind been changed? Could you just show your hand if you're interested? Because I have follow-up questions, so I need to know who I'm talking to. So that's great. What are the things that we might do collectively among the IIIF community to help provide you with on-ramps? Are there specific things that we could do or that you know you need to do, and we can just be there to respond if you ask for help? Does anyone have an idea about what a next step might be for them? Brave souls? Yeah, please.
Sure. Well, I have a project sitting on my desk at home that includes find a IIIF consultant to come help me figure out how to make this happen. Because, I'm at Princeton, John's at Princeton, but as often happens in institutions, there's not necessarily cross-pollination there. So I would like to be able to, maybe I can come to the website and say, I need to hire somebody for a week to come and tell me what to do.
You could hire Stanford and we'll sell you John's time with 15% markup. If that's, and a sweatshirt. Actually, so Tom.
That's what we were sort of
Work across departments.
I'm not sure if there are any other commercial organisations you can sort of, but I guess we are IIIF consultants. I don't think we've ever been described in that way, but hey, let's be a IIIF consultant.
It'll be on the business cards next week. No, I think it's critical to help cultivate a vendor ecosystem, and the work that Digerati has done first with the Welcome, who was very enlightened, made the Welcome player open source. It was developed under contract. I think precisely for this reason, is so that other people would pick it up and do the enhancements. The British Library, the National Library of Wales, that's great. I think there may be others who are interested. If you're in a private consulting firm or contracting firm and you're interested, please talk. We'd love to see more software titles that are compatible, whether they're open source or whether they're commercial, and we list both without bias on the website. Are there any other things that might be helpful? I know, Doran, one question in the back or suggestion in the back?
We currently use IIP Open Server. I was just wondering what we needed to do to make it IIIF compatible.
So my understanding is the latest releases of IIP have native support for IIIF. So if you're not on the latest release or one of the latest releases, it may just require an update. So the IIP team, so I'm getting nods. So the IIP team has been quite active in supporting IIIF in the past.
Yeah, just to clarify that, you may need to acquire a Kakadu license to build the IIP image for JP2, or you may be able to use a distribution from Cloaken to do that as well. And you will need to put a reverse proxy in front of it to rewrite some of the way it produces the info.json. Almost certainly. But other than that, it's fully IIIF compliant.
That would be a great FAQ or little snippet for the website.
Yeah.
I think the fun thing about this is that a lot of people might be IIIF compatible and don't know it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's perfect, Tom, and I think we need to work on a little bit of text to answer that question exactly. I already have one of these things. How do I become IIIF?
And possibly half an hour fiddling around with some Apache config and you're off.
Another question or suggestion in the back? Yes.
Thank you so much for your work on the specifications and the website. It's been extremely useful. I think my wish list would include tutorials or demos, links to demos showing annotation in operation, viewing existing annotations of different types, adding annotations, allowing the internet to
So Rob is bringing up one of the tools for that. I'm not sure it's exactly what you might be asking for, but it's called Showcase. So showcase.iif.io. And
Yeah, just a showcase that we're working on. This isn't linked yet, but clearly it's live. With little tiles that you can click on. So this is Cloaken's georeferencer that was built with the National Library of Wales. You click on the tile and you can get either like a little video or a built-in demo, a link to website so you can go in and explore more. Or eCodices, the leaflet viewer from Stanford, OpenSea Dragon, Mirador, the Welcome Player, and so on. So
Is that one available, that last piece of annotation?
It's in the works.
Okay.
Weeks.
in the works in weeks.
We
Yeah.
asked for a wish list.
Please.
So, I mean, one thing that was probably the most useful for me today was actually to find out what everyone in this room is doing with IIIF, and that's not at all visible from this site. In other words, I can learn about the specification. I can learn a lot of what you presented here by digging into the site. It would have been harder to go to this site. It was really useful to hear the presentation, but honestly, for me, one of the most useful things was to see the community of people who are already building things with IIIF that are not, you know, these finished, polished packages that you have highlighted on your site. So some way to expose that kind of community through your site, whether it's some kind of forum, people talking to each other, or whatever, I think would be really useful for your project.
Trevor, perhaps a response?
Well, no, I think even something like just sort of people solving problems with it, almost like blog posts or something, right? Like, we're using it, it does that, sort of like the implementation cases and like apps and things, the interviews or something like that.
Sure.
Those are great suggestions. Yes, please.
This has been very helpful. There's one piece that I didn't quite see that maybe would be helpful is the problem of how different folks are generating all the manifests in the absence of a tool like Oxford is developing. I didn't really see any specific mention of that. That would be helpful. That's kind of a
Yeah.
missing piece for me.
There are already things like Rob has a Python library, and there's a Ruby one that John has, that if you do a bit of coding, you can use those to generate your manifests from your existing metadata. So what Oxford will do is make that an easier and more user-friendly process for people and provide a browser-based client for the manual editing. But there are already libraries and tools out there that will let you do that if you've got a bit of coding time.
Are those libraries mentioned anywhere on the site?
They're on the GitHub. but-
Yeah, I think a lot of this is actually in GitHub, in the IIIF GitHub repository.
So at least from the books and manuscripts perspective, there's sort of an underlying, like, at least those of us who've been doing this for a long time have METs on our servers or have any number of structural metadata standard metadata. But those specs have never really enjoyed consistent deployment. And so it is tough to develop a lot of tools, but we've at least sort of created what I call
It's under
API.
Presentation API.
yeah, it's right at the top.
But you're right, there's a lot out there that people have done to automate the conversion of TEI, MES, this, that, and the other thing. We don't have on the website, so that's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
manifest factory.
You know, the other thing we would say, and I think Tom was about to say it, is, you know, the community is still at the state where if you're interested, and you're really interested, and you're just trying to figure out, okay, how do I get this thing kicked off? Join the list and send an email, and this group will circle the wagons to help.
I just echo that in the sense that maybe 6 months ago, I just started peppering the Google group with questions, and the response has been really fast, and then I make a little progress, and then it breaks again, and I send another question, and that's how I find out about all the disparate sites. Like, there's the main site, and there's this site, but John's also Manifest Creators is on its own thing, and I just had to get it from the Google group, so it's a lot out there, but you get pointed that way.
And another thing that we discussed yesterday and will continue to discuss over the coming weeks is not standardizing, but at least coming up with shared conventions for how those libraries work, so that if you develop in Ruby or Python or JavaScript or C++, there's like one abstract API that you need to understand, and then it applies to all the different languages. So that there can be one set of documentation and one set of examples, rather than everyone having to do all of the work over again, about thinking, well, how would my developers want to do this? We've all done it, and we should be sharing that work as well as at the API level.
So Alan used and Stu did, that was probably more pithy than I'm going to be able to say it. Alan did a great job this morning introducing the notion of community. Everyone that you see up here working on IIIF is actually doing it out of volunteerism. There isn't a IIIF headquarters. There's no IIIF world global domination, and there never will be. It's a secret. No, but there never will be, partly because standards work best when many people have a hand in developing them and helping move them along. So we actually don't want to turn this into a 15 or a 20-person organization codifying the APIs and developing software, because that creates disincentives for other people to participate. So if you are interested in any way, current best practice, frankly, for generating a manifest is to take a crack at it. Can't figure out what you're doing wrong, run the validator, and then send an email to the list where probably Rob or Ben Albritton, our colleague at Stanford, will write back and say, here are some hints about what you might do. And it would be great if there was a third person and a fourth person and a fifth person. Well, and those people might be in the room today. So that's what's fueled the charge so far. I think that's what's going to carry it through. We are looking to formally organize IIIF with some kind of membership organization for a very small, lightweight administrative hub to do things like organize this meeting, which again, National Gallery, thank you very much, pure volunteerism. So Alan, and his staff, in the back, Frank and his unnamed colleague, or unnamed to me colleague, Brian, who was out helping earlier, all the volunteers helping distribute the name tags. We've been having back and forth conversations about where you can and can't take coffee and what you can and can't do on the network, which is still being built for months. So it was non-trivial, and I think it's testimony to that kind of leadership and self-interest, that enlightened self-interest for hosting these things and carrying forward that's going to benefit us all. So here are a couple of ideas. These are all great. So first of all, we'd love to continue the conversation. There is a, what did I get on Metadata Factory? McGrattan. Yeah. There is a discussion list, and right now, there we go. Right now, there are about 200 members on that list. If we're not over 200 by the end of this week, I'll be surprised and slightly disappointed. A little. It's okay, though. Yesterday was my birthday, which I spent prepping for this. It's fine. Go ahead and join the list. We might be at the point there is some technical discussion, but there's also non-technical discussion. If it comes to the point where it's healthy to split off, then please do. You've met the people who are on the list. None of them, well, only one or two of them are actually scary or intimidating. But please feel free to actually join the list. If you want to hear about announcements but not be part of the discussion, there is a IIIF announce list. There is software to participate. There is also a growing list of participating institutions. If you are actively participating in evolving IIIF, deploying it locally, go ahead and send us a note, and we'd be happy to add you to this list. The more the merrier. It shows strength and a richer ecosystem and a richer community. One of the things that we've talked about a little bit is everything in IIIF is use case based. So if you have a use case, like you're doing conservation and you might be talking to people from a library who are not experts on conservation but were floored by what you were doing, it'd be great to write that up or better understand what kind of tools or extensions might help that. I think there are lots and lots of use cases, and it was so great to have this in Washington, D.C., because we've begun to see that there are a lot of ways that this could be applied in specific communities of practice. We are starting up probably this summer, along with a formal membership organization. We will be soliciting calls for institutions that would like to be founding members for IIIF. We expect sometime in perhaps June or July that we'll be issuing this call. Exactly what that membership looks like, we don't yet know. There will probably be some opportunities for financial contribution. There will also be some opportunities for exposing resources interoperably. There will be opportunities for doing work in kind and exposing software. So anything that benefits kind of the interoperability movement, we think is probably going to be grounds for some level of membership in the organization. We have a fantastic logo, and you'll probably get a t-shirt. As part of that, we also plan to start up some interest groups and some working groups. So from the museum community, from the archives community, from the medievalists community, there are specific needs, pools of content, and we think that the way for IIIF to scale is, again, as a distributed, networked organization. So if you're interested in exposing a lot of resources or working with your colleagues who you may know here, we'd welcome any kind of overtures to help form affiliate groups or one of these interest or working groups. I think that's kind of, those are a short list of things that we can do to get involved. If anyone has further ideas, please don't hesitate to write to any of the people who presented today, and please don't hesitate to join IIIF Discuss and just pop it off onto the list as a whole. If you have the question or suggestion, there's probably a couple of other people who are thinking about it as well. So with that, maybe just a round of applause for all of the presenters today.